misinformation going around today about whether or not the jury has to be unanimous. Yes, it has to be unanimous for conviction or acquittal. Once you get down to that third step, that is the part where jurors all have to think there was some unlawful means, but they may differ on what those unlawful means were.
Have you got Rob on, haven't you? I was just talking to, we just sent Rob a message just saying I've gone live, it's coming up.
They could have 12 different versions of that, and we won't know because we don't actually...
I was just literally sending him messages, and then I said, oh, it's coming up. So just tell him I've gone live if he wants to watch.
Count 1 through 34, yes or no? That's what we're going to say.
And Laura, we'll let you keep your eye on that. I'll turn to Hallie because, you know,
the jury's back
quite busy on Truth Social, quite busy with his social media, and this is some of the word that he is putting out that in this case is false. But not just him, his allies as well. Right, but as always, there's a grain of truth, which I think we have amply explained at this point.
Which comes on that third step, as you and Laura have so capably laid out here. But the bottom line is this misinformation NBC News is reporting today that has come out now that has been amplified by former President Trump around these jury instructions and around the way the jury is going to be deliberating on these charges.
Did you get older, Rob? Yeah. He was literally, I was just sending him a message, but might as well watch it live.
I think we've seen it, yeah. Far-right extremist sites talking about potential issues, trying to do the judge harm.
It's still live.
There are real-world consequences to some of this.
And I just want to say, I mean, like it or not, this is the law. The judge is not freelancing here. He did not create these rules. These jury instructions are the law of the land as he best understands it at this moment.
Absolutely not. I'm really glad you bring
I know
that
what
up
I can do.
because it is true that there are grounds maybe to complain to an appellate court about these statutes, but the law is applying, I mean, the judge is applying the law as it exists in the statutes, and that law permits jurors to have different theories on that.
Yeah, I think I've invited him in or something. I don't know what it means.
Unanimous in the sense that they all need to agree on that particular crime. But, of course, they must be unanimous as to each and every count, as to all the elements. And again, that really is a function of the law. The judge is correctly applying the law. You can complain about the law itself, but your beef then is with the legislator, not the judge.
And if they're about to have a conviction, they may well have an appeal, and if they do, this will be the grounds, because there are aspects of this prosecution that are quite novel. In particular, a state prosecutor essentially trying to prosecute a federal campaign elections violation.
Yes, that's one of many different grounds for appeal, and in a case like this, it is true that false business records prosecutions are brought frequently, but...
So what did it say? The judge is back in and so's the jury? What did it say? The judge is back in the jury?
Yeah. Where we often see the former president when he comes in and out of the
fuck me, you get it.
We would assume
fucking copper there, look.
Likely hear from him, so we'll keep an eye on that. We're also keeping an eye on the crowds gathered around the courthouse right now.
There you go.
His word has circulated that a verdict is close by, and as far as that verdict is concerned, we're told that about 4:20 Eastern time was the note indicating that the jurors, I guess, have to push a buzzer, and communicated that they had a verdict. We were told it would be about a half-hour process as they prepare the documents or some of the logistics of revealing.
What's interesting about that is the judge had intended to dismiss them today at 4:30, and they would come back tomorrow.
6 initially, it was going to be 6.
But they decided.
Did Lisa get back to you? Oh, Lisa will want to watch this.
He told the parties, I'm going to send them home at 4:30. At 4:20, they get a note. They send a note and say, we have a verdict, and that's why they hadn't even filled out the verdict forms. So then they told the judge, okay, we just want you to know we have a verdict, but now we need a half hour to fill out the forms for these 34 counts.
You have to imagine at 4:15, the prosecution and the defense was going, okay, we got another day of this now, getting ready to go home because of that indication.
Well, what time is it?
Interesting here is what former President Trump,
You just said something about 4:15 they handed it in, and they need a half hour from then to fill the form in or something. What time is it?
He has a TV that's been put in there, so he's engaged in some TV. He's been doing TikToks filmed by his son, Donald Trump Jr.
That's a dickhead and all, isn't it?
While this process has been going on, telling people to try to donate to his campaign. We know that the former president has used these legal issues as a boon to his fundraising push.
The jury is here in the courtroom now and properly seated, so one would imagine that the verdict will be read at any time. So for anybody who's about to be introduced or we're going to talk to,
let me get me beer.
And we have seen, Dasha, something of a carnival atmosphere.
Sorry guys if you're watching me, I'm just shaking.
Outside that courthouse
This could be history, guys.
Here we go. Let's listen. Laura, go.
Guys, we need to go.
Oh, it's on. Right, okay.
Okay, here we go. We have the verdict, Savannah. Here we go. Count one. Guilty. Count
Oh!
guilty.
No, yeah.
You owe me a five.
Guilty.
Oh, I owe you.
Five.
Guilty.
Fucking hell, it's...
Guilty. Guilty. I told you.
I owe you $5.
$5.
Count eight.
Guilty.
Fucking hell.
Guilty.
Count 10.
Guilty.
Count 11.
Guilty.
Shit.
12. Guilty.
Oh my god.
13. Guilty.
Count 14.
How many is there? 34?
15. Guilty.
Shit.
Guilty.
Count 17.
Guilty.
Fucking hell.
Guilty.
Count 19.
Alright, you.
Guilty.
I only owe you $5.
Guilty.
Count 21.
1. Guilty.
Oh my god.
Count 22.
Guilty.
Count 23.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Fucking hell.
Think that it's coming in. Count 24.
Guilty.
Count 25.
Show. Wow.
Count 26. Guilty.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
Count 27.
All 34 then?
Guilty. Count 28.
All 34 charges.
Count 29.
Fucking hell.
Count 30.
Oh, viewed audience, here we go.
31.
Oh, kick off, so you can hear him kicking off.
32. Guilty. Count 33. Guilty.
Holy shit.
Count 34. Guilty.
Oh my
There's
god.
34 felony counts here.
Just text Rob and just tell it if he's not watching, all 34 are guilty.
Victory for the prosecution.
Fucking hell.
The jurors obviously bought the prosecution case in full. There was a
Is he going to be shit then now? Are we going to be okay?
We'll be fine.
That is not the
Just keep
case.
your mouth
It's a
shut.
total rejection.
Trump found guilty on all 34 counts.
We're starting to show you
Shit.
some of the scene outside the courthouse. We could actually hear it, Laura, as you were reading that verdict.
Yeah, they all
And
started.
just as you're digesting it, and I know you're keeping your eye on the courtroom as well. What do you make of this verdict?
Savannah, it's a resounding victory for this prosecution in a case that they pitched as something far greater than about hush money. The way they tried to cast this case was about the subversion of democracy, and today the jury agreed with them, Savannah. The former president has tried to cast this as a political prosecution, a political hit job by a Democratic elected DA, by a judge that was biased against him. But these 12 jurors, these 12 New Yorkers, have come to a different conclusion, an independent conclusion.
Alright, I owe you $5, okay.
Not the $5. He just thought he was above the law.
Yeah, no, I agree, baby.
Oh, look at
Oh, here we go.
Here
Here we go. Yeah, you could hear him. Oh, fuck off. Free Father Teresa? What? Piss off. That's...
It's been growing as the day went on. It's growing after they heard that this verdict was coming in. A lot of emotions running very high.
He's comparing him to Mother Teresa. That's a bit sick. That's sick.
For things that he did, that the prosecution said he did to try to corrupt the last election. And just remarkable scene playing out right here.
That's fucking sick.
We're getting some color from the courtroom.
Hi, George. Is on. You right, George?
Trump is looking at each juror as
Yeah,
they are
cousin George.
training his
Oh, all right,
head
George.
to look at all
He's been
the
found
jurors
guilty
to
on
On all
34
34 counts.
the,
All 34 counts. This is literally just happening this very second.
throughout the trial, frankly, but certainly waiting, unable to leave the courthouse and waiting for the verdict. So we're going to get a little more information. Josh, if we're to use the
I don't have a clue. Oh, well, what's happening? Oh, here we go. Oh, shit. Is everybody alright? Everybody's... You be careful. These are going to be loads of kickoffs then. Are they safe?
Protesters, demonstrators weren't able to come. They absolutely can, and this crowd is growing here.
It's getting big. You make sure she's alright. Fucking hell. This...
It is what it is.
No, I know, but they're all going to start... You know what these fuckers are like?
They're all knuckles.
That's what I mean. Is she going to be alright?
Yeah, really fine.
No, this last year. Is she safe?
Well, we're watching the legal system work. work the way
Yeah.
it's supposed to work in a democracy.
I can't believe that guy compared Trump to Mother Teresa. That's sick.
He was indicted by a jury of his peers. This was not political. This was not Joe Biden, despite the
Hey, history in the making here, guys, that we're watching live.
grand jury indictment.
Yeah,
And
grand
now
jury.
the
How Phil's on? Hey, Phil.
peers.
Hey, Phil.
And this is the legal system working.
Yeah, this-
And
yeah.
This is
And
how
they've got
America's
to suck it
supposed
up
to work.
and deal
I
with
feel
it.
very happy for America. I feel very happy for
All
democracy.
34 counts
This is
guilty.
how it's supposed
Jesus,
to
can't believe it when they were reading it out. Wow.
I would expect we're going to hear a lot of that, a characterization of this as a fair trial, as a fair judgment of the former president.
Yeah, not from the former president himself, of course, as he has worked for months.
Well,
now
that
to
what's
ask
his
for
name's
some
going to
political
come on in. He
persecution
didn't
against
Biden
him.
say he
He's
was.
taking a beat here.
No, he told you to take a back seat.
Recognizing that
No, I thought he said when he finds out he was going to come.
a historic moment. This
Right,
is
I owe you
the former president
$5.
of the United States and the current presumptive Republican nominee.
Is this
in
the
a
first time a president's had to go to jail then?
race now coming up in
Really?
November that has been convicted
If
on
he
these 34
chooses it.
counts in a court
What do you mean
of law.
chooses
There's going to
it?
be a lot of
The judge
discussion
will
about
pay
the
for the
politics.
doctors.
Oh, do we not know that when does that come?
That I'm sure a lot
It
of our
should
viewers
come
are
on.
wondering.
What? So now they get. Hang on, no, they.
What is the potential
Oh, you go,
for
Judge
jail
Keith.
time, and what is
Jail
the
time.
timing of any appeal?
Sorry, it's shaking, guys.
It's a great question, Savannah, and it's something that I have purposely tried not to talk
Gonna
with
keep
you
the
about
camera
very much
straight.
during this trial because he was entitled to a presumption of innocence, and so it seemed premature. That's a different situation now that he has been convicted of 34 felony counts. These are
Fucking hell.
low-level felonies. He does not
Low
have any
level.
criminal
Oh.
history, which means he hasn't been convicted before.
What, is he gonna get-
And so the judge will be the one who will determine his sentence in this case. He faces anywhere from just probation to up to 4 years in prison. Now, the
Yeah,
fact that he
Well, no, but is that judge not going to get, like, if he doesn't do something, is he going to get witch hunted? And then if he does do something, is he going to get, do you get me?
Could do.
Purposes. In other words, they're not stacked. It's not 4 times 34. It's just 4 max, given what he's facing here. Again, for those low-level felonies. The judge will be the one to sentence him. He will get sort of recommendations from both sides about what an adequate and appropriate sentence would be. He's going to hear from the probation department. All of this, guys, is going to take months and months.
Oh.
This sentence is not going to just happen overnight. And the judge actually making it very clear to the jury that their job was not to consider the sentence at all. That had come up in closing arguments. The lead attorney for the president.
So what
tried to
happens now?
argue, don't
Will
put
that
this man
judge-
in prison, and
there's
the
gonna-
judge
I'll tell you now, there's gonna be
no,
trouble.
No, disregard that.
There
That's
will
my
they
job.
be
That's not your
in
job.
pocket?
So the judge will be the one who will bring everybody
watching
in
all these
several
out
weeks
here.
to discuss sentencing, a plan for sentencing, and then we'll see where he goes with this. I think one thing to keep in mind here.
All
is this is a
34
person
fucking counts.
who not
That's
only
all,
is the
yeah.
former president, but the current presumptive.
Oh, it's all we got. I know how it
And
works, Kate.
Again, it's hard to really understand, underscore. I think it's necessary how unusual this is. This is.
Is this not news back in England, George?
People have said that. He's not just.
No, just we are, George, being online if you can hear me, that's all. Wondering if it's online back, if it's on news back home.
All the competing factors, making sure he's paying attention to the case law, making sure he's paying attention to, obviously, to any past precedent that applies to these types of felonies in this type of situation. But this, again, will take weeks and weeks and months. And, of course, he's entitled to an appeal. This is not the end of the road for the former president. There is plenty.
Oh, he will. You know what he's like.
There are plenty of legal arguments. It's always hard to challenge a jury verdict, but there are plenty of tricky, complicated legal arguments in this case that the former president can marshal in his favor in terms of doing that appeal. And
Trump will
typically,
be kicking
in this
off with
kind of
his
a
lawyers.
case,
He'll sack all of them.
he gets to stay
He'll
out
sack all of
of
them.
prison.
Yeah, but I thought you had to give all his money up when he was
He
thingy.
would be behind bars or in custody while that appeal is going on.
Has the judge made many accommodations, acknowledging that this A is a former president and B is a presumptive nominee for his party?
Whoa.
Yes, in one big way, Lester. And the biggest way is that he had 10
That's the way.
Keep your dick in your pants.
Good advice.
Buy people off.
10 different times.
Oh, no.
I always keep my dick in my
No,
pants.
you-
Well,
We've been in a heap
not
of
really,
trouble
but-
for that. And I'm not trying to discount the fine that he faced for that. But any other defendant would have faced jail time for that. And the judge went on the record many times saying, please don't do this. I don't want to put you in prison, but I may have to if you continue to violate the gag order. Now, we haven't heard much about the gag order, but that gag order is going to be...
What's this gag word thing?
I bet you a lot of Tom divorces it now.
Through sentencing, and then we'll see...
Oh, she's that.
He's been proved that he lied, and he had shacking a porn star. I bet you now she'll take it.
You're outside. You might get shot.
Already made a motion for acquittal, arguing that the jury must have relied on Michael Cohen's testimony solely, which was in violation of the jury instructions. That motion already denied by the judge. That's the scene outside as the crowd grows.
Start kicking off.
I want to turn to Hallie Jackson here.
Be careful where we are. We're south.
Donald Trump, convicted felon candidate for office of the presidency of the United States. What has been so interesting is the X factor is no one really knows how this will play, whether it hurts him in the upcoming presidential election or whether it helps him, because aspects of this has certainly helped him in the primary race.
So that's right. It has always been a question mark as to how this would affect him in the general election.
It's a sex scandal, isn't it? So he's outside having a cigarette on, talking to myself, sort of thing. So he, after a sex scandal, he can still...
That said, anywhere from 10 to about 25% of independents suggest that it may make them less likely to vote for the former president. Still, Savannah, a hypothetical is very different from the reality that we now face. Let me point something out here, because people may have this question. Can Donald Trump still run for president?
That's what I mean. I don't get it.
He sure can. There is nothing in the Constitution that prohibits or precludes him from this. Unless the Republican Party were to, for example, come up and say, we don't want you as our number.
Okay, if he's just said that, they're just asking, they can still run for president.
Yeah, it's a lesser charge.
But it's a sex scandal.
It's basically a sex scandal.
What was that in 60s with that song that Dusty Springfield sang? What was that? Who was that? Mandy Rice Davis and that?
Yeah, but if the judge decides to sentence him...
Oh, hang on, please, back on.
Right away, and the prosecution made a suggestion about sentencing, and the defense attorney made a suggestion asking for a sentencing in mid to late July, pointing out that the former president faces other charges in other jurisdictions.
Oh dear.
This is just one of 4 different criminal cases.
So he's got
one that will reach a conclusion before Election Day. And the former president's lawyer pointing to that as a reason to sort of put off
there's 4...
And the judge announcing sentencing will be on July 11th.
4 sentences. This is only the first one, and he's guilty on all 34 charges.
So again, as I mentioned before, the people, the defense are now going to put in motions and briefs about what they think
that cop is fit, by the way. Before I left, we're having that cop.
And it's interesting.
Wow.
They're not really discussing any of the conditions of release quite yet. I'm gonna wait for more information about that before I delve into that, guys. But for right now, July 11th is sentencing.
And his bail continues, Laura, so he's out of court. He'll be free on bail while pending sentencing.
And I think we just got our first glimpse of Mr. Trump.
Keith. He's here, Trump.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Again,
I can't make... Where is he?
The arrival and departure and remarks.
He's coming out because he's on bail, but he's in that crowd somewhere.
We would guess, but we don't know for sure whether he'll address.
Oh, he's there. Oh, he's there. Look. Oh, look at Fair. No. In China.
He'll say it's a witch hunt.
Yeah. Oh, fuck off. Fuck off. Oh no. Look at his son's face. Fuck off. Look at face on his son. Oh, piss off.
Why would you say that?
Shut up. What a dick.
And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here.
And it's in China.
You have a sore respect.
Get your soap out, mate, because after that comment, I'll bet you the judge will send you down, and then you can't go for credit.
Look at his son.
And it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution.
And China.
Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration.
Oh! Oh no, he's even bringing him into it.
An opponent, a political opponent, and I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a
I think
divided
he sent it there, did you not?
You caused
I was
it.
just going to say, I think he sent him there. Where's that beer?
Millions of people pouring into our country right now, from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists.
Yeah, I think we've got more, thank you.
We have a country that's
You're saying up people that are coming from other countries, we get fucking more through, don't we? Where's my beer?
convicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case.
What?
And we will fight for
That's slander, innit?
this is long from over.
He'll go down.
Fucking that's slander!
The judge will say,
Oh.
he'll go down. I bet the judge puts him in prison. If he goes into prison, he can't run.
He's just said he's a corrupt judge.
I know.
During appearances at some
Say though the demeanor
That's one thing you don't
and
do. Oh, hang on.
angry, and clearly the weight of this is upon him. And he said something so interesting.
Oh, here we
he
go.
said the real verdict will come November 5th. And to a certain extent,
Won't do
he
it when
is
you're in
right,
prison,
because
mate.
for those who were thinking that there might be some legal resolution that would affect whether or not Donald Trump will ever see the Oval Office again, this case is likely not it. As you just mentioned, you can be
There's 3 more
a convicted felon
cases,
and
yeah.
run for president.
Oh, he's
and
here
you can be
again,
a
no?
convicted
Oh,
felon
moments
and
ago.
serve as president. So the real verdict in terms of the politics is November 5th. He also said, I just want to say, point of fact, that this was a Biden administration.
Faith, that son
job
makes
on
me
him.
laugh.
This is a state prosecution. The DA here, Alvin Bragg, is certainly no fan of Mr. Trump, so we can't say there's no politics in it. But this is not a federal Biden administration prosecution.
isn't.
And in fact, President Biden has gone to
Yeah, that's a bit-
notable lengths to
Where's my
distance
fucking
himself
beer?
from commenting or
What's
reacting to much of the day-to-day.
Will you open my beer up for me? I've got my hands full. My hands full, sorry guys.
Point out, and that caught my ear too, that the real verdict is in November, because that is going to be former President
Thanks,
Trump's
Lou.
rallying
I didn't know his
cry for
son were a
months
bit
that we
hot,
have
is
until
he?
this election takes
Oh,
place,
yeah.
because he sees it as
Looking
an
a
effective
live.
way
Get out to
rally
Bali. Oh, hang on, sorry guys.
I'm going to ask a question. If he gets sentenced, can he become president? If the judge decides to sentence him,
This is a listen.
Well, she said something before about this is only one of 4 cases, but it's just been done on all 34. I'm not sure. I don't understand foreign policy.
I just want to note one other thing too on the sentencing date, Savannah, as we talk about the politics piece.
Oh, that beer's good.
done the wrong thing. I think the judge will put him down, mate.
Well, after saying that's pretty bad.
And it is also almost certainly going to be right in the middle.
Well, I was just asking George if this is on TV in England. He's been very rude and not replying to me. Oh, is he there? George, you're very rude, ignoring me.
Standing a question on that.
If you
because
are
let's just
sentenced
say
to
the judge
prison,
did
can
give
you
him
become
jail
a
time
US
on
president?
July 11th. Would he be remanded right then and there to the state prison?
Let's run for
And what
president,
does
win
that
an
mean in
election
terms
by
of
in
the
prison
convention
or
and the
from
campaign?
serving.
That's
as
ridiculous.
president. That's ridiculous, so he can still win.
Quiet about how they would handle actually
No
incarcerating
way.
a former president and a presidential candidate. And I think that will factor into
Them
the
crowds are
judge's
building.
decision. I think in all likelihood, you're not looking at a sentence of imprisonment. We may have been over this, but it's Class E felony, non-violent, age of the offender, no guns, no drugs, not likely to happen here. In most jurisdictions, for example, in federal, you get a turn-in date. You ask for a turn-in date. It actually helps you with your sentence. Here in New York, it's uncertain whether or not the judge would remand him right away, but the odds of him being imprisoned on this Class E felony, which is the lowest level felony for a non-violent
that's why.
first-time offender of his age.
Yeah, but it's a sex scandal.
Sean certainly knows that and has seemed to want to bend over
Many
backwards to
politicians.
He'll be bending over backwards.
No, many a politician.
Bless
not
him.
like, it's a sex scandal. It's not federal. It's lower class. So yeah.
Well, we all like a shag, but, you know.
Particularly with his federal cases, his 2 federal criminal cases, it will now affect his criminal history category.
Yes.
So sentencing in federal court, and I'm jumping the gun, assuming that there may be a conviction in his federal cases, is a function of the gravity of the offense and your criminal history category. Now he may have a criminal history.
But real quickly, for those who are just tuning in here, he
It
has been
says
found
something.
guilty now in this Manhattan, this New York State case. There are 3 other cases pending. One is a state case in Georgia. 2 are federal cases. One regarding efforts to subvert the the election in 2020 and January 6th. The other having to do with holding on to classified documents.
But why
But
didn't?
generally
Oh, so
speaking,
will
it is
cause.
not expected that any of those
Fucking-
cases will proceed to trial.
What? Why would he not? Why is he not getting done for that when everybody?
No, that's still pending. You've still got to go.
Is that, you know, when everybody rushed that? And did anybody get killed? They did, didn't they?
No.
Oh, did they not?
No, we've still got to face that one.
Oh right. Oh right. That's one of the other. Right.
Yeah, he's got two. He's got one in Georgia for telling that Georgia falsified the document, which they didn't.
Well, is he going to get done again now for saying that about that judge?
It all depends how quick they bring it, and they are federal. Once it becomes federal, no.
Well, no, he's just accused that judge of being whatever.
Typically, the end of the case, the trial court end
Nah,
of the
I don't
case
understand.
is upon the sentence. Then you file your notice of appeal, and then you are considered a felon during the pendency of that appeal. There are some jurisdictions where, strangely, Massachusetts is one. While your case is on appeal, a very famous Aaron Hernandez, the wide receiver for the Patriots, Dieball's case was on appeal, and under Massachusetts law, that resulted in him not having a criminal history. That is the exception. That is not the norm.
As we talk about the other legal issues that the former president faces, it may be worth getting a gut check on the timing and the timeline here for those three cases, Savannah, that you've laid out. The next one that we're watching the most closely is that federal election interference case, because we are waiting for that decision from the Supreme Court.
But he can still run. But I think after he's had the judge.
That was I can't believe he just said that.
What he'll do is he'll hinder his that he can't go on the campaign trail, so he'll put him in long enough that he can't compare.
Yeah, but oh hello, oh right, we have in here. Not having you, we're having you. I'm having the one in the middle. You can have the other two. Oh hang on, what's that? Oh, there's a liquor one there for you. A liquor one for you. I'm having that one there. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, that lovely photograph, bless him. Look at his hair, look. It looks like he's had top of his head cut off. Do you remember in Dawn of the Dead with them, with helicopter cuts the top of his head off? Look, it looks like, bless him. Bless him.
I mean, it could be wrong. But if he admitted to it,
And he's found top of his head. Look at his fucking hair. What the fuck's that about?
For a long time, actually, on the first
In China.
From China.
What's with his hair, him, look? Hogan Gidley, that's a fucking name and all. Of course it's a bloody wig, I'm not frigging Forrest Gump.
The real verdict is going to be on November 5th.
Give over, you silly twat. Oh, coppers are back. Move! Right, here we have in it. Keith! Again! Him up right. I'm having that one. Oh, I owe you $5 on it. I know.
I think you're even an attorney, as I recall.
Oh yeah, right. Fuck you sellers if you got $300. There'd be a bloody. You'd be going to court if you had $300.
That's part of the closing argument. The whole thing on its face, in my opinion.
Oh, look at policeman at back laughing and that. He's obviously not a fan.
In this verdict is exactly
Oh hello.
what they wanted.
Yep.
Yes, they wanted to bleed
More
him
fit
out.
coppers.
Yes, they wanted to keep him off the campaign trail, and they wanted to be able to call him a convicted felon. This is purely political, and you're going to see that when Joe Biden himself is going to address this from the White House.
Oh, see, that's what I told you.
The rampant politics.
No, they said Biden was going to come on live and say what's what.
Correction there. Of course, the former president knows very well.
Oh, he's there again.
Charges are against him. They're laid out in a 34 count.
They were there again because you recognise that blue tie.
Which is a fair point, is that some of those underlying crimes that are sort of the girding and the foundation of those charges, which are clearly delineated, those were not really delineated until the final hour in closing arguments. So I understand what you're saying. I just want to make sure that you're clear about that.
It's a corrupt judge.
What do you think? How do you feel about China?
This is because it's China. China. We've got loads of immigrants coming into the country. We've got loads of immigrants coming into the country.
China.
Because it's China.
Well, people are trying to watch, you silly bastard. Sorry, guys. Like, Keith's happy because he's won $5 because he bet he'd get done for it. Oh, shh. Spammer.
But interesting,
It's silly sausage.
Donald Trump and Joe Biden
You don't joke about that.
These two agree on that point. Well,
Fucking dick.
And I think there were partisans, people who are obviously not fans of the.
I'm going live for you. I'm going to go walk around the motel and see what the atmosphere is like.
A political problem. That, in all likelihood, is not going to happen. Although we will see whether or not the Judge Marchand sees fit to give him jail time and how that
Well,
might
we
affect
just
anything.
spoke about that judge.
Again,
It's
as
a corrupt
extraordinary as it
judge.
is, our Constitution
How'd you
has
say
very few
that?
requirements in terms of eligibility to be president. You got to be 35 years old. You have to have lived in this
He's
country
definitely
for 10
over
years,
that.
and you have to be a natural born citizen.
And you have to have your own hair.
The founders didn't want to put a list of requirements. They wanted the voters to decide. They wanted the voters to say, this is unacceptable for us, for a president, and this is fine. And that is essentially what will happen in this election in November.
What we're seeing, too, from the Biden campaign is this pivot to a degree, or at least a shift towards what the senior campaign official had told me just within the last 72 hours that they had wanted to do. Once this trial ends, remind people that this is a very, in their view, a very stark and clear choice between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And you're seeing that in this statement that is just in now from the Biden-Harris campaign. Through a spokesperson, it is not from the president or the vice president, saying that today's verdict does not change the fact that the American people face a simple reality. There is still only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office at the ballot box. It also says that Donald Trump
There's just been a thing that come through. It's not from the president, though.
For breaking the law for his own personal gain. So obviously, the legal issues fold into what the Biden campaign will press as a character case against the former president.
Will you come in when you're talking about this?
Legal issues, not just this one,
Jeez,
but
you
the
get
other ones as
fucking
well,
shot,
to try to
you
make the
prick.
case that he is
Oh, somebody just bought some on eBay.
What Hogan Gidley said here, the point he feels the left and the President Biden are going to use this politically. Perhaps they will, but certainly Donald Trump has used it politically to his advantage, I might add.
He raised $360,000, as far as we can tell from small donors, on day
wow,
one of
them
this
crowds
trial
are
alone,
building.
Savannah, based on the fundraising appeals. And he's got another one out
There's
tonight
no
from
trouble.
the campaign. I'm just going to pull it up briefly here. Where he calls
what we're
himself,
looking at.
or the campaign calls him, a political prisoner. It's him with a raised fist here. I mean, it's begun already.
Let's go to Kelly O'Donnell, NBC senior White House correspondent. Kelly, at the White House right now. We know the president in recent weeks has been a little more willing to take jabs and mock Mr. Trump. We saw the tweet, or the X, if you will.
Sorry, I'm just reaching for a beer, guys. Sorry, I need a beer.
About all the things surrounding this.
In time, that is likely, Lester,
that's
but
good.
it is just a strange moment of timing that today is the 9th anniversary of the death of Beau Biden, the president's son. He is away in Rehoboth with family, marking that day. And the guidance we have had is there are no immediate plans for the president to speak on this issue. There is an expectation that the White House, in the official role, separate from the campaign, will emphasize the importance of respecting the rule of law. And inevitably, the president will be asked about the verdicts and what this will mean for the election and what it means for the country and the historical perspective in the days ahead. But right now, he is with family at their home.
I hope there's some more of them
Delaware
Ornish
and
outside.
focused on the loss they suffered 9 years ago. So the sort of
That's just running
strange
out.
twist of history, that was such a pivotal moment, the death of his son, in encouraging him to run for office in 2020. And then on the anniversary of Beau Biden's death, to have a verdict in the New York trials of Donald Trump is just one of those strange coincidences that bring so much of this into focus about the larger context. So we expect that the White House will ultimately support the rule of law, support the jury's verdict. At the moment, it is the campaign that is speaking in terms of how they are responding, and again, pointing to November and the choice that Americans need to make. They have a couple of paragraphs in a statement that Hallie alluded to, talking about how this is a choice for the American
Just saying
people.
it's 9 year.
Jump in here for a second, because I want to get outside to the courthouse.
Oh, hang on.
Tom Wafer
Something's happening.
is our NBC News producer who was inside the courtroom as that verdict was read, and he joins us now along with our correspondent Laura Jarrett. Tom, there is nothing like the tension in a courtroom right before a verdict is read. Tell us what it was like in there, whether
Looks
the
like Drew
jurors
Carey.
looked at the former president, and any other color you can provide from the courtroom.
Helicopters going off.
Oh, yeah. All that right can talk about the type of shit they took on January the 6th. And Biden's still in power. It will shut it down.
When the jury has something to tell the court. That's what we've been hearing over the past day or so. The prosecution comes in, all of a sudden Donald Trump and his team come in, and the judge says, look, it's my intention here to let the jury go at 4:30.
I can't believe he called that judge corrupt.
And we're about 5 or 6 minutes past that. He comes in. He says, well, we received a note from the jury at 4:20 saying they have reached a verdict, and they want about 30 minutes or so more to be able to go through the paperwork and go count by count and item by item. At that point, the mood in the court completely changed. You could even hear the air conditioning system in there over just a couple of keyboard strokes from reporters that were in the courtroom. Obviously, the tension built. Prior to that, the former president and his defense attorney were talking as if the day was over. They were laughing with each other, covering their mouths so that the cameras that are viewed in the overflow weren't seen. And so the focus was just kind of the day is done, and immediately the gravity
to watch
of the
them
moment
crowds.
struck everybody in the courtroom, prosecution and defense, and you saw a real change at the defense table, understanding that this was really it. To your point, Savannah, I noticed the jurors, and I did not see all of them coming in because of just the way that the courtroom was set up, but I did not see any of them make any eye contact with Donald Trump prior to the verdict being read. I did not see them make any eye contact with the prosecution either. At that point, the judge asked the jury foreperson, have you reached a verdict without telling me? He said yes. He stood. They handed him a handheld mic, which allowed all of us to hear what he was going to say. And then one of the courtroom staff members went count by count. All those 34 counts, which as you well know by now, were all guilty. There was not a ton of reaction within the courtroom. We've been strongly admonished by the court security officers. They didn't want any sort of outbursts of any type. Once the jury was polled, which as you know is the moment where the judge or the court asked each individual juror if what the foreperson read was accurate. They said yes, and then at that point they were let out, and there did not appear to be any sort of significant eye contact there either. And there were some jurors that, of course, over the course of the trial, as you know, are more animated than others. Some take more notes than others. But even those that
they
were a
got
little bit more animated,
because when I did jury, it was just random. How they got picked.
To it being read. So obviously a kind of a quick turn of events, putting all of this in perspective. For years,
because how bad that jury thing I did, I'll never get called up again because of how bad it was. Simon did. He was on. I told you he was on the James Bulger case. God rest his soul. And they said to him he'll never get pulled again because of the trauma.
Slowly, because there was a bit of a change here at the office. There was an election. There was a different district attorney, as you know, that came in and took office. And the plan of attack, if you will, for this investigation and case changed after that point. And eventually we got the charges that we got today, and approximately a year later, well, here we are now talking about a verdict. Where does this go from here has been so often the question involving investigations surrounding Donald Trump for the past 6-7 years or so. Today, this is kind of a big moment because we have no indication whatsoever that there is now going to be any sort of ongoing criminal jeopardy for the former president and presumptive Republican nominee going forward. None from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, no indication that they're doing any additional work, no indication that the federal prosecutors about 2 blocks from me and the FBI 2 blocks from me is doing anything involving any sort of investigation involving the former president as it pertains or has a nexus to New York. Obviously, there's the other cases that you well know about. So it's a big moment today.
Does that newspaper news guy keeps trying to tell him to shut up, I think.
To the Michael Cohen guilty plea in federal court that surrounded all the conduct in this case. And so now we'll just have to see where those other 2 cases go. But as far as things go from here, in his hometown, where so much of these investigations originated from or involved, including the conviction and jailing of his chief financial officer, Alan Weisselberg, and the conviction of his company.
What was that?
On that note, let me ask you.
Tell him to shut up.
We're obviously seeing the helicopter shots around the courthouse, presuming the former president has not exited yet, but we know he was required to be in court every day, and certainly to be in the courthouse during the deliberations. Is he now free to return to
How will they get him off on roof?
Does he still have to remain in New York?
100% Lester.
How will they get him out? Will they have to get him out on that roof thing? Like, like Die Hard.
The guilty verdict, I should say, in the proceedings today, the prosecution said that he remains R&R, which is his release on his own recognizance. There's no bail.
R&R, like relaxation. Yeah.
Across the country, obviously, as he continues his campaign. So at this point, Lester, there's no restrictions on Trump. The question here going forward, and something that we're going to wanted me to report out and get some clarity on, it was not addressed in court, is whether or not the gag order remains in place. What happens to that? Can Trump start to speak about the jurors? Can he direct his comments and obviously his Truth Social posts more pointedly at the
So he's going to go after So he's going to go after jury?
Question whether or not he kind of goes on the
It's
attack,
like
and
the judge
obviously the
that
statements
the
that
gag
he
order on
made,
him.
they got him in
Well, so-
finding of
oh,
contempt
good
here,
God.
put in jail pending this trial or during the course of it. But that's something that is a bit of a question and perhaps a significant one, knowing how much the former president likes to talk about his particular cases, in this case in particular, whether or not he
Well, he's just called him corrupt. So he's been called. He called the judge corrupt, and now he's threatening the jury.
So, if the judge sentences him, fine, he can still run for president, he can win. What can he do from jail? He can't do anything from jail.
Well.
So that'd be his second term gone. Because you only get 2 shots.
Oh, it's fucking politics, baby. I don't understand.
How many terms for the president you get? I'm sure it's 2 years.
Yeah, I'm just going to.
2 times.
He did want to talk to them afterwards, more of a process thing. He says, look, I can't talk to you about the case. I can't talk to you about how you came to your verdict. But I do want to figure out, were there any sort of issues with the process, different things that worked
Yeah, I
out?
thought it was
twice.
I'm going to say that sounds right. Yeah, I don't fucking understand.
Testimony and then their ultimate verdict.
So what's these? Are they trying to get him out in these cars before anybody grabs him or whatever?
Not to get too much into their security plan for obvious reasons, given the
Or
sensitivity
car,
of
listen
the
up,
case, the fact
police.
that they are anonymous. There are little details that came out in the course of their questioning that have been well reported at this point. Kind of a cross section of people that you might expect here in New York City.
Is the trouble starting?
Really, it's up to them. They will be taken
What sort of
to
alarms
another
going off for?
location. Their security is assured to that
that's
point,
all.
so it's not a situation as if they're going to come out of the courthouse say behind me any minute. That's not what's going to be occurring.
Tom, we want to point out that we've learned that the DA Bragg is going to be holding a news conference, making some remarks. We're told about 6:30 Eastern time, so we're about 45 minutes now. We will look for that. Also want to point out July 11th is the sentencing date the judge issued a while ago. That is just a few days before the start of the Republican National Convention. So
Yeah, I bet they put him behind bars. I think he should have just kept his mouth shut.
How do you dare call a judge corrupt? How long do they have to go to fucking... Mind you, some of them are though. Like, sorry guys, my hand's itching.
Before the Republican convention. We don't know yet. There's still more reporting to be done. But I mean, the thing that I'll be most interested to see, at least between now and maybe the next month, 6 weeks till that sentencing, is what do people say now that he has been convicted? Does the polling shift? Because right now, yes, we are seeing that some degree of people, even 6% of Trump voters, say they'd be less likely to vote for him if he were convicted. That's not a big number, but remember, this election is not going to be about big numbers. It's going to be the tiniest margins.
That brings me to Hogan Gidley, who was a former aide to Donald Trump in the White House. And Hogan, I'm giving you truth serum on this one because I know that the former president will know how to spin
that's him
this
with
and know
chopped
how
head off,
to
isn't it?
talk about it, and we've already seen that. But if you were in your old job and it's
His
your
fucking arrow.
campaign,
Bless
how
him.
concerned are you really
Very
about
realistic
this
that way.
conviction going into a tightly contested presidential race?
Well, I would be concerned, Savannah. And by the way, you don't have to give me truth serum. I always bring the truth to you. You don't have to worry about that. But let me give you some truth right now. 67%.
Alright guys, that's enough now because my arm's going fucking dead. Enjoy the... I hope you weren't bored or whatever. Anyway, I need my beer. Love you guys.
That tells me so many in this country aren't really